Hello everybody, I'm Von, and in this short clip I'm going to show you the basic principles of how to make this little needle felted dog. I call him the all-in-one dog because, as you can probably see, he's just made out of one piece of material, no separate bits to attach together too much, so quite simple and quite good for beginners to start to see whether you enjoy needle felting or not. In dry felting or needle felting, the fibres of the wool are bound together by these very, very sharp, pointy needles. The needles themselves actually have tiny little barbs on them. You certainly won't be able to see them on camera because you can only just about see them with the naked eye. But when you stick the needles into the wool, the barbs work with the fibre itself and it works to mat the fibre together. So the basic principles are, the more you stab, the smaller the piece of work gets because it gets denser. And if after you've stabbed a lot and you think your work needs making bigger, you just add more wool. So the basic principles are, stabbing makes it smaller, adding more wool makes it bigger. So this little dog is going to be made up of several shapes. The body shape is made up basically of a cone. His head is basically made up of a cylinder with two pointy ears and one long tail. Okay, to start with then, we're going to make the body of the dog, and to do that we're going to take roughly 2 hand widths of wool. There aren't really any exact dimensions, but I normally work with hand widths because it's easier. Different wools needle felt in different ways, so some wools will be more dense and some more wools you'll have to do a lot of needle felting to get it to the way you want. But I basically work with, if you have 2 handfuls, that's probably about the body size. And what you're going to do with this to make the body is, you're going to fold it over and wrap it up very loosely, because what we're trying to get to is we're trying to get to this cone shape that the body will be in. So once you've got it loosely wrapped up, you can start felting. So all you do is you take your needle and you begin to stab. And you'll stab and you'll stab and you'll stab. And as you're doing it, you begin to move the fabric around and you begin to move the fibres. So you're kind of stabbing and pushing at the same time. You're pushing it into place. Once you've stabbed it enough so that it becomes a bit more solid and it doesn't open up by itself, you'll have a base that'll be the bottom and the cone. And the top bit here, you don't want to needle felt. You need these fibres at the top to be quite loose because this is the bit where you're going to attach the head to. So the bottom needs to be quite dense, but the top you have to leave free in order to be able to attach the head. So you stab and you stab and you stab and make sure that you try and keep that cone shape. Okay, once you've made your body and you're satisfied with that, you need to start moving on to the head. Now, very simple shape for the head is simply just a cylinder to start with. So take a length of wool, a strip of fibre. Don't worry about the size at this point, because if you find that the proportions are wrong, you can always add more at a later date. You just want to get the basic shape at the moment. So again, like we did with the body, you just loosely fold it up, tuck the ends in so that you're getting to some kind of little cylinder like that. And then again, you want to start needle felting. So you want to needle felt it all together. You may not work as quickly as this. And also, you probably have realised by now, if you've done any needle felting, that an occupational hazard is you will stab yourself at some point. It will feel like the end of the world the first time you do it, but the second, third and fourth, you'll just get used to it. And then you'll get to a point where you can actually do it and watch television at the same time. So just keep persevering with it. So you need to stab that until you get to a much more solid cylinder. I've got one here that I just prepared so that we can move on to the next stage. When it's a bit more solid, you want to be dividing it into sort of 3. The bit right at the end is the loose fibre again, and that's the bit that you're going to attach to the body. This bit at this end is going to become the nose, So you need to get your needle and start needle felting into it about 2/3 of the way down, so that you start making a defined forehead, the forehead of the dog. So you'll needle felt in and you keep doing that. And this last third, you needle felt slightly more, turn it around and keep going. Turn it the other way so that you're beginning to develop that ridge, that little bit on the head with the dog's nose like that. So I don't know if you can see that, but we're starting to get a little bit of a ridge there with a little nose that's pointing out. So if you keep doing that, the more you do it, the more you'll get a defined snout, nose, and the more you'll get a defined forehead. Now it's at this stage, if you think that piece of wool wasn't enough, it's too small, you need to keep adding some more wool. So adding more wool with needle felting is so simple. You literally just grab a little bit, wind it on and needle felt it in, because all the fibres will just mat together and you won't be able to see any joins at all. So you just keep doing that, defining the forehead until you've got the size and the shape of the head that you want. So in this short demonstration, I haven't really got time to firm up the body and firm up the shapes as much as you would do if you're doing it for yourself. But I have just made a tiny little body here with the head that we made earlier, so that I can show you how to attach the head to the body. There's no real technique to it other than the fact that you're joining the fibres together. So you literally want to take the body, make sure the fibres at the top are loose, that they're not needle felted in. The bit of the cylinder that we had which was forming the neck, pop it over the top, get it into a sort of position that looks like a head and a neck, and then you literally just have to needle felt it until you get the shape that you want. It will look like a duck at some stage, it will look like a horse, it will look like anything other than a dog, but if you persevere and you just keep needle felting, you will get to that shape. So you're going to, again, just stab and stab and stab so that the fibres can come all the way down the body, if that's how big they are. It doesn't matter because it will all blend in together. So you just keep going with it. And remember what I said at the beginning, that to make things smaller, you needle felt more. So if you find you want a bend in the neck or you want the head to turn in a specific direction, you need to needle felt in the opposite direction in order to make that bend. So here, where his head's slightly up there, in order to get this neck shape, I will need to needle felt this side more because that will make it smaller and that will bring it together. So that's what you need to do. Stabbing, more stabbing makes it smaller and brings things round. So the neck will need to come down and then stab more. It looks like a penguin at the moment, not a dog. But honestly, trust me, if you persevere with it, it will look like a dog in the end. So we're vaguely getting there now. Can you see that we're vaguely getting there? I need to do this side now and then do more on the neck to bring it in. Again, this video is really just a small demonstration of the techniques. You may develop your own techniques as to what works best for you. And whether you'll discover whether you're a firm needle felter or whether you're a soft needle felter. I particularly are a very firm needle felter, so I would work on this probably for quite a long time, and it would probably shrink to at least 2/3 of the size it is now to get all the fibres to work together. But you can see it's coming together. Getting a slight neck on in there, and then putting the head in again. So it's probably at this stage you would start to think, are the proportions right? Do I needle felt the nose more? Do I needle felt the head more, or the body? So at this stage you need to be needle felting the whole thing so that proportionately you're bringing it down together and then adding little bits to make it slightly bigger. If you needle felt the head all in once, you'll end up with a tiny little head and then a bigger body. So work on the whole thing now. So, before you get to the stage where everything's really tight and firm, what you need to do is to make the contours of the dog's legs and the dog's haunches within the shape that you've already made. And that's really easy because all you do is you use your needle as if it were a drawing tool really. And so you will stab a straight line all the way down here to make his front legs, and you just keep stabbing in exactly the same line. You then take a kind of a triangle from the top of his leg down to where his haunches start, and then a circle for his haunches and a little bit round there for his feet. And that piece in there, you just repeatedly stab and stab and stab. If you remember, the more you stab, the smaller it gets. So just by stabbing in this space here, you make this smaller and tighter, eventually getting to the relief of the legs and the haunches and the back foot. And on the front, you do a similar thing. You'd simply draw a line down the front of the body, and that forms the two legs, and you just stab repeatedly in that line to give you the contours, and exactly the same on the other side. A line down there for his front leg, cross to the bottom of his back, round for his haunches, and then back to his little other foot. You just stab and stab, and you'll do it enough. First of all, you'll think nothing's happening, but as you continue to do it, you'll see that it will start to take shape, and you'll start to get these contours rising. So then eventually, you'll have your little dog with his legs defined and his back legs. Okay, and then to finish off your dog, obviously you can finish him off in any way you like, but a little black nose, piece of black felt, some little eyes, that could be felt again, 2 ears, whether they're pointy or loppy, that's up to you, and then a little piece of coloured felt, needle felted around his neck, makes a lovely collar, and don't forget his nice little pointy tail. So I hope we've given you a bit of a taste as to what needle felting is like, and I hope you go out and try it, and I hope you have as much fun as I do, and be careful of the pointy needles.
Wonderful.